Hi everyone, welcome to K8MRD Radio Stuff. My name is Mike, and before we begin, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button, also hit that bell so you're notified when I make new videos. Today I want to revisit the Xiegu Gsoc, or Gsoc as I like to call it. I've had a bit of time with it now. I've taken it out in the field, done a POTA activation, had a couple other guys have a chance to use it. A couple other guys, Josh and Jason, Ham Radio Crash Course and Ham Radio 2.0, have also made kind of videos expressing a lot of these things. We're all having similar issues. Now, I want to say, first and foremost, I am not bashing this in any means. I think Xiegu has done a great job with the G90, with the X5105, specifically the G90, as that's really taken off. They've been very good about releasing firmware updates. They're very receptive to customer input. Someone from Xiegu emailed me. I have no idea who it was, and I'm going to respond to him in a bit, but they just wanted to know my thoughts on this GSOC. So completely random. I don't know if they knew that Radiodity sent this to me for review or if they're emailing everyone asking their input, but I thought that was neat just to reach out and ask my opinion. Hopefully they're doing that for everyone else. So I am going to talk about the shortcomings of this, but I do believe that just like the G90 didn't have as many features as it did when it came out as it does now, I think the Gsoc is kind of in that same boat. Why they released it so early, I don't know, because it's kind of just a shell that it'll get you on the air, but that's kind of about it at this point. Most of the functions don't really work, so I'm just going to get in here and show you guys my nitpicking. This is all things that I think need to be fixed. I don't think I know. These things need to be fixed. But since they sent this radio to me to review, I got to send it back to them. This isn't mine. I don't get to keep it. I'm going to let them know what I think. And again, not bashing it. I think it's cool. I think it's a neat bit of kit. I think it's a new thing in the market. If anything, just competition for other ham radio manufacturers out there. I will mention, I think the price at $550 is a bit steep. $300, I think you might have a sweet spot there. I could justify that a whole lot easier if all the functions worked. Right now, it's kind of like you're buying a prototype, but it's not. This is the production thing here. So don't take any of this as negativity, more constructive criticism. I'm pretty positive a lot of this stuff can be fixed. So let's dive right in here and see what my thoughts are. All right, so I've got a whole list of things that I want to talk about with this. And first and foremost is this right here. I am hooked up to a dummy load. And I first noticed this, I was out about a week ago on a POTA activation, and all of these spurious emissions stay right there. So no matter what frequency I go to, this waterfall, this spurious emission doesn't change. It's always, always there. Furthermore, if I plug in my wireless mouse, watch what happens. Now we get even more. So now the mouse is working, and look at all of this noise. You can't, who are you working? You're 5'9". You're 5'9" in the noise, buddy. So that has definitely got to get fixed. So I'm going to take the mouse out for the rest of this. And now it goes back to less terrible, I guess. Touching on the waterfall a bit, you can't really do anything with it. For me personally, I would like to see more waterfall and less spectrum scope, but you can't do anything with it. You can adjust the span. Okay, that's great. I like it around 50. But the level, I can't figure out for the life of me what this does. It doesn't do anything. It makes the little blips get bigger, so I guess it is adjusting the sensitivity of it perhaps, but that's it. And you can change the colors, big deal, okay, but who cares about that? I want to see more of the waterfall. You also cannot adjust the waterfall speed on this either. It's set to whatever you got. So it's not slow. I don't dislike the speed that it's set, but it would be nice to actually be able to adjust that. Next is these user-defined buttons, and to be fair, it does state in the manual that these are not programmable yet, which is kind of silly. So like if you just hold it down, you can see the EQR is just blinking there. Don't adjust your screen, that's what it does. Same thing for these others. You'd think that if you hold it down, you could somehow assign it, but that has not been programmed into it yet. Some of the features that exist in the G90 as it sits without this are not in the Gsoc. For example, there's no CW decode. It's just, there's no zero indicator either, like there's no zero beat indicator either. I mean, you can see all the pretty dits and dots, that's cool, but you know, you could utilize this space up here for a CW decode. The G90 is not terrible at it. Why is that not in the Gsoc itself? Speaking of features that are in the G90 and not on the waterfall, this is kind of one of those, but I found it very interesting that you need 2 cables to hook up to this. So this cable controls the radio and everything else, and there is nothing else on the G90 itself that would connect to the head unit of the G90. So why do they have this IQ? Well, the weird thing is, I'm going to unplug this. That gives the waterfall signal. But the G90 doesn't need this. Why do I need a separate cable to get my waterfall? It doesn't make any sense when just this cable alone controls the entire head of the G90. That's kind of a weird thing. If they could have made this with just this one cable, that would have been a lot better. A lot of people have asked about rig control. You've got 2 USBs here that you would think would be able to hook up to a computer. I can't find a USB cable to hook up to my computer, so I haven't tried it. But after watching Ham Radio Crash Course's video and Jason Ham Radio 2.0's videos, they've both confirmed that this does absolutely nothing for connecting up to a computer yet. So I'm back on the dummy load now, and I want to talk about just the overall, I guess, user interface, if you will, the visual interface. So we've got our SWR, our ALC, and our power, which is great. It's nice to have those things there. I haven't found a way to adjust the ALC. Testing 1, 2, testing. So it's just always at 100, regardless of what you want to do. So for digital, that might kind of be important. Also, the power meter, when you key up, there seems to be, I don't think it's an actual delay in transmitting, but it's certainly a delay to actually show it, K at MRD. When you key up, it gives a little bit of a delay before it starts to show that it's working. Again, I'm going into a dummy load. From the time you hit, from the time you key up, it feels weird. It's like you want to key up. It's like you want to key up and then talk. You know, wait a nanosecond before you start talking. And I did notice that the meter, I had it at 20 watts on my POTA activation, and it wasn't going all the way up to the 20 watts. So I ended up changing the microphone gain. I bumped it up to about 80, and that did solve that problem in case anybody experiences that. Microphone gain's a bit different on this than it is on the G90 itself. So now I've got the mouse back in. This is kind of just, I mean, I'm nitpicking a little bit at this. It's awesome that this has a mouse. What's not awesome is that when I unplug the mouse, that frickin' arrow is still there. I feel if I don't have a mouse plugged in, I don't want to see that arrow. It's just getting in the way. Another neat thing to do with the mouse, since you have a mouse, I can click all of these on. I can left click them and then they go on. Why can't I just right click it? So like I'm right clicking compression right now and it doesn't do anything. Like if you right click it, it should bring up the settings. I shouldn't have to go to wherever this is and then go to my compression and then do all this. Like it should just be there. Like let me right click it. The mouse does change the frequencies though, so that's kind of cool. I guess you can just go up and down with the wheel and you can change frequencies, so that's pretty neat. Now speaking of frequency steps, let's say I'm tuning around here a little bit, right? And then, maybe I want to go a little bit faster, so I'm going to click there. Well, that still leaves that on 9, okay? If I change these and I go one higher, that should automatically default back to 0, so I'm not having to be off frequency here, okay? So like 99, if I click that, that should just go to 0, but instead, no, it leaves that 9 there. That is silly, and I should not have to do that. Once you go up in steps, it should default all of that back to 0. Now, for the most part, I don't dislike this wheel, and the little indent here does turn with it, so it is 2 separate pieces. It is a little sticky, though. It's not quite as smooth as you would like it. You know, perhaps with time that might loosen up, but you know, for the price you pay for this, I would expect this to be a little bit smoother. Now, touching on the touch screen, which it is nice. I mean, it feels just like a, you know, it's probably an Android tablet at heart. But when you go to press these things, I guess I've kind of learned to press over it. But you have to, so I feel like I'm pressing on the notch filter right now, okay? But it's not. You see where the mouse is way down there? So you kind of have to aim over it. I almost have to aim towards the noise reduction to hit it. It's not very fluid. That can probably be easily fixed if there was a calibrate screen function in here. There's not, so you kind of just have to do it. I mean, this is definitely no iPad. Look at how many times it takes to turn on the noise blanker, and then I hit noise reduction instead. So, and then there's that frickin' mouse arrow again. So that's kind of annoying. Another thing with the user interface and going between, so like let's say so I'm on radio, I want to go to display. Let's look at this menu, and how do we get out of it? Well, in a not very bright red, that says exit. So that's how you get out of there. Same thing here. But now when we go to transmit and receive EQ, there's no exit button. And this right here turns red and green. The red is not very visible at all. I mean, it's almost like it's not there. But the exit button is now this arrow to get out. So this one, we hit exit to exit. This one, we hit the arrow to exit. So there's not really any continuity. So same thing if we go up to bands. If we hit the band, okay, if I change the band, it should just automatically exit. But instead we have to hit what band we want to be on, or what mode, excuse me, what mode we want to be on. And then we hit the arrow to get out. Why can't it all be one or the other? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. I would say get rid of that exit or change the color. You can't see. Just make it white. Just make it white. You know, whether it says exit or there's an arrow, I don't care. But make them the same. There needs to be continuity across the board. One of the most exciting features about the Gsoc for me was the addition of the noise reduction and the notch filter. The noise reduction works just fine. I don't have a problem with it. The notch filter, however, is absolutely worthless. I had some people keying up on me during my POTA activation. I started to play with the notch filter, and it just, I mean, you can center it wherever you want, kinda. You know, you can move it around. Where's the center frequency? No matter where I put this thing, it did not get rid of the carrier one bit. So notch filter's there in spirit, but it is not functional at all. So you found yourself in the modem, huh? That's pretty sweet. How do you get out of it? There's no back button. Where do you go? Oh, this tiny, tiny little X right there. That's how you get out. Lastly, is simply the power button. You have to hold this thing in for a long time for it to turn off. Probably like 5 seconds before it actually turns off. Hey, there's me. So I wish that were a little bit shorter. It's just a short press to turn it on, but a really long press to turn it off. Now I understand it is the lock button, but like 2 seconds maybe should really be all you need. So that's about it, guys. Again, not trying to bash this thing. I think there's a lot of hope for it. I just don't think it's ready for prime time yet. I was really, really shocked at the price when I heard it. So you're selling an accessory for a radio that's more expensive than the radio itself. That might be a little bit of a tough sell. So who knows? Maybe in the future, when this gets a little more straightened up, who knows? Maybe I'll pick up one for myself. I do like it. I think it's neat. It did work out in the sun, but just like probably every other tablet in the world, it was a little harder to see, but still very usable. I do like it. It would be really neat to incorporate in my Go box, but I would need a bigger box. But hey, I'll get to build another Go box. Anyway, take it for what it's worth. I wouldn't say don't buy it. I would just say beware that what you're buying is not what is entirely advertised. I think they mentioned Wi-Fi is in it and Bluetooth. That's still nowhere to be seen. There's no deeper menu. What you see is what you get. You can check out my other video where I kind of do a run through of all of the features of this radio or what they're supposed to do. So this is kind of, you know, where do we need to improve? So I think I touched pretty much everything. I have a long list. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, do leave them below. I'll try and answer them as best I can. And until next time, we'll see you on another episode of K8MRD Radio Stuff 73.